Well, good morning, everyone. You'll notice the sweater. Boy, we had a front come in last night. We had about 50-mile-an-hour winds and what have you. And I mean, it's really turned cool this morning. The sweater feels awfully good. The building I am in was built in 1923. It's dependent on steam heat, and they don't always get that regulated for sudden temperature drops. So, yeah, it feels pretty good. Anyway, welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. I'm sharing with you some thoughts on Christ and the victory over Satan, the end of the Charismata, the end of the age, the full arrival of the kingdom. All of these are absolutely interrelated ideas. And I'm sharing with you currently some of the purposes, the function, the reason why the Charismata were poured out. I've indicated to you, given you scriptural support, that miracles were to be an indication to Israel that her last days had arrived, that the time not only of her judgment had arrived, but the time of her salvation was upon her. And in a really fascinating text that is seldom explored in this particular way is the book of Micah. Now, Micah chapter 7 is a text that is quoted by Jesus to speak of what was to happen in his generation as the gospel was preached. And he said, a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Well, that's from Micah chapter 7, 6 and following. And there are other texts from Micah that are cited by the New Testament writers as being fulfilled in their day and in their generation. Well, notice Micah chapter 7, verse 15. As in the days when you came out of the land of Egypt, I will show them wonders. Now, we have to see that this is, again, prophetically in the same identical time frame as the time in which he said, a man's enemies will be those of his own household. I will set a mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law, a father against the son, etc., etc. Well, again, Jesus said that was going to be in his generation. Matthew 10, Matthew chapter 24. So Micah said during that period of time, in those climactic, horrible last days, the Lord says, as in the days when I took you out of the land of Egypt, I will show wonders in the land. Now there's a motif here that is incredibly important, and that is the second Exodus motif. All throughout the Old Testament, especially in the book of Isaiah, I say, well, especially Isaiah, it permeates all of the Old Testament prophetic books, is the idea that in Israel's last days there would be a second Exodus. There would be a second Moses. The rabbis used to say, as it was in the days of Moses, so shall it be in the days of the second Moses. As it was in the first Exodus, so it shall be in the second. This was a very common, well understood motif in Israel. Don't have time to develop it this morning. But the point of fact is that when God delivered Israel from Egyptian bondage, he performed miracles. How long did he do that? How long was their exodus? 40 years. Well, we come to the New Testament, and we see Jesus identified as the second Moses. In fact, one greater than Moses. Hebrews chapter 3. And what began to happen? He began to lead Israel out of bondage. Bondage to sin, bondage to death, bondage to Torah. And of course we could go into and discuss how just as Israel came out of Egypt, and there were foreigners, non-Israelites, who came with them and joined in their deliverance, just as it was in the New Testament. God was calling pagans into Israel's deliverance to enjoy the blessings of her salvation. That's not really our point. The point being that God said there was a first Exodus when I performed miracles and delivered you in the second Exodus. And that was 40 years. We come to the New Testament, and Christ is the second Moses, the second Exodus. Second Exodus language, or Exodus language, permeates the New Testament text. Hebrews, Revelation. And what do we find during this second Exodus? Miracles being performed. Just as the Lord miraculously endowed men in the first Exodus to build the tabernacle, the Lord miraculously endowed men to construct the second, the Messianic temple, Ephesians chapter 4. On and on it goes. The type, antitype is beautiful, it's perfect, and it points to the fact that the duration of those charismata in the first Exodus was 40 years. The function of the charismata in the second Exodus was to be like that. It was to last 40 years. I hope you see the correlations. It's beautiful. Now, I expound on this in my book, Into All the World Then Comes the End. I'm making the special offer. You go to my website, www.eschatology.org, www.bibleprophecy.com. You order the book. You mention you saw the offer on YouTube, and I'll refund shipping to you. Okay? Hey, I won't be with you from now until after Christmas. Got a ton of stuff to do. Going to enjoy the Christmas vacation. So let me take this opportunity to just say very Merry Christmas to all of my viewers here on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Facebook. I just hope you have the happiest of holiday seasons. I'll try to be back with you immediately after Christmas and for a short time before the New Year's. But I've got to get caught up on some stuff, and so I won't be able to be with you. But again, thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Merry Christmas to you. God bless you, and we'll see you on the flip side.